Formula One. Teams spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year trying to become faster. Cadillac spent nearly $500 million before they even had a car. No drivers, no race results, no championship points. Just a massive check for roughly $450 million. And when the news broke, a lot of people thought it was ridiculous. Why would anyone pay that much just to enter Formula One? But here's what's fascinating. That money may end up being the smartest investment any new team has made in modern F1. Because Cadillac wasn't just buying a spot on the grid, they were buying something far more valuable. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Formula One originally didn't want them, what changed behind the scenes, and why Cadillac's real master plan doesn't actually begin in 2026. It begins years later. To understand why Cadillac's entry matters, we need to go back to the beginning. Because this story didn't start with acceptance, it started with rejection. When the idea of a new American team joining Formula One first emerged, the reaction inside the sport was far from enthusiastic. On paper, adding another team sounds great. More competition, more drivers, and more excitement. But Formula One isn't just a sport. It's also a business. Every team shares in Formula One's commercial revenue. Add another team, and that pie gets divided into smaller slices. From their perspective, a new entrant needed to bring enough value to justify that dilution. Questions were raised. Would they be competitive? Would they add value? Would they survive? For a while, it looked like the answer might be no. But then something changed. General Motors didn't walk away. Instead, they doubled down. And that's where the story gets interesting. Most fans focus on the cars, engines, and drivers. But the most important number in this story might be $450 million. Reportedly, that's what Cadillac agreed to pay in anti-dilution fees. This money doesn't make the car faster. It doesn't hire engineers or improve lap times. It's essentially the cost of getting through the front door. And that's exactly why it's so important. Most companies would look at a price tag like that and walk away. Cadillac didn't. They saw an opportunity. Formula One has exploded in popularity. Team valuations have soared, and the sport is bigger than ever. So Cadillac made a statement. They weren't asking for permission anymore. They were proving they belonged. In doing so, they solved one of the biggest objections standing in their way. But the money wasn't the genius move. What they did next was. When most new teams enter Formula One, they try to do everything at once. Build infrastructure, develop technology, hire personnel, create an engine program, and compete immediately. That's usually where things start going wrong. Formula One is brutally difficult, and even established teams struggle. Cadillac appears to have recognized that reality from the start. Instead of trying to conquer every challenge immediately, they focused on reducing risk. Their first major decision was to use Ferrari power units. Some people saw that as a weakness, but it may actually be one of the smartest decisions they've made. Building a Formula One engine is one of the most expensive and technically challenging projects in motorsport. By using Ferrari power units initially, Cadillac can focus resources elsewhere, building operations, developing the chassis, creating systems, hiring talent, and learning how to function as a Formula One team. Instead of trying to solve 10 problems at once, they're solving them one at a time. And that's why 2026 isn't really the end goal. It's only the beginning. Here's the twist that changes everything. Most people think Cadillac's story begins when they arrive on the grid. But the real story begins later. Because General Motors isn't planning to remain dependent on another manufacturer forever. The FIA has already approved GM Performance Power Units as a future Formula One engine supplier beginning in 2029. That changes the entire conversation. Suddenly, Cadillac isn't just another customer team. They're building toward becoming a true works manufacturer. And that's a completely different level of commitment. Think about what that means. Dedicated facilities, dedicated personnel, dedicated technology development, and long-term investment, measured not in seasons, but in decades. This isn't a short-term marketing campaign. It's an industrial-scale motorsport project. And that's why many people inside Formula One started taking Cadillac far more seriously. Now, the question isn't whether they're joining Formula One. The question is what they could become. There's another side to this story that often gets overlooked. Why were some teams reluctant to welcome a new competitor? The obvious answer is revenue. But there was something else: competition. General Motors isn't a small company trying to make headlines. It's one of the largest automotive manufacturers in the world. When a company with those resources enters Formula One, people pay attention. Not because success is guaranteed. Formula One has humbled plenty of ambitious newcomers, but because of what success could look like if everything comes together. A major manufacturer, a growing American fan base, a dedicated power unit program, a long-term strategy. That's not the profile of a team planning to participate. That's the profile of a team planning to compete. The biggest mistake many people made was assuming Cadillac was simply buying publicity. At first glance, it's easy to see why. A luxury automotive brand enters Formula One, headlines follow, and media attention explodes. It sounds like marketing, but when you look closer, the evidence points somewhere else. Infrastructure is being built, engine programs are being approved, facilities are being developed, leadership structures are being established. Those aren't the actions of a company looking for a short-term headline. Those are the actions of an organization preparing for a long-term commitment. Will it work? Nobody knows. Formula One doesn't hand out success. It has a long history of exposing weaknesses. But Cadillac's approach appears fundamentally different from what many critics expected. And that's why the conversation around this project has changed so dramatically. So was the $450 million gamble crazy? At first, it certainly looked that way. $500 million just to get through the door sounds absurd. But what if that wasn't the real purchase? What if Cadillac wasn't buying an entry slot? What if they were buying access to one of the fastest growing sports in the world at exactly the right moment? Because when you zoom out, the strategy starts to make more sense. Secure approval, reduce early risk, build infrastructure, learn the sport, launch a factory-backed power unit program, then compete on your own terms. Suddenly, that massive payment doesn't look like desperation. It looks like positioning. And years from now, Formula One fans may look back on that $450 million and ask a very different question. Not whether it was too much, but whether it was actually a bargain. Because one thing is certain: the moment Cadillac joins the grid, the experiment begins. And what happens next could reshape Formula One for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. Will Cadillac become a genuine Formula One contender, or will they struggle like so many new teams before them? And don't forget to subscribe because this story is only getting started.